So now that we have our data up in this area here, we can start doing some math in terms of heat loss, just like you guys calculated for homework. I'm just going to write a couple things down here to keep my memory straight. I'm going to make this cell bold so it stands out to me. We want to remember that U is equal to 1 over R, and our Q, make it bold, is going to be equal to our U times our area times our, I don't know how to do delta on here. There we go, that's close. UA delta T, right? Q equals BTU H. Q equals BTU hours. Just so we can keep that organized. And then we're just going to break this down into elements. Item. So we're going to have basically an item, right? And we have Q equals UA delta T, right? So we'll need a area. We need an area. We need a, we can even make this kind of look like a formula. Area times we make this a right alignment. U value times our delta T equals Q, which is in units of BTU hours. Again, I'm going to make all those just bold. And then the items we have, pretty typical for a building. You know, obviously, the more complex the building, you might have multiple elements. You might have doors that have different R values. You might have different types of windows and curtain wall systems. You might have different wall types. Walls, ceilings, windows, doors, floor. Now, I don't know why it's alternating bold and not, but we'll make them all not bold for now. Save. Now, it's a matter of linking for the area. We don't want to duplicate too much effort here. So, the square footage of our walls, I'm just going to simply say equals this. We figured out the square footage already. It's there. Maybe if you want to remind yourself that area is in units of square feet, you can do it that way, right? Our ceiling is the same as our overall square footage. I guess if you really wanted to, you could link that square footage down here. You know, I could have said equals the overall. We're going to have the same amount of ceilings as our building square footage, right? You're not going to do a heat load calculation for a courtyard. Window area, just say equals again. Select the window square footage. Doors equals, again, door square footage. And then the floor equals the overall dimensions. Okay, so my U values, The U values for the wall we can do by formula. So we're going to say equals 1 over, so the forward slash is the division symbol. I think that's similar to a lot of like Texas Instruments calculators and things along those lines. Wall value, so 1 over the wall value R, or the wall R value. Ceilings is the same thing, equals 1 over ceiling. Windows is we don't have just the R value alone for windows and doors in its own cell, so we'll just type that in, equals 1 over 4 for windows. You can see that windows are a pretty low R value usually. Same with doors, equals 1 over 7, and then our floor is equals 1 over the floor R value right there. I'm going to highlight these cells. I'm going to right click, format cells, number, and change my decimal to, I'm going to give them 3 decimal places. Click OK. That just makes it a little bit neater. So you'll notice that things that have a lower R value have a higher U value. Did you guys notice that? So a lower, because it's an inverse relationship, so R is resistance and U is transmittance. So if it has a low resistance to thermal flow, it's going to have a high transmittance. So the lower the R value, the higher the U value. Does that make sense? Okay. Now for design temperatures, design temperature at the walls is going to be equal to our inside design temperature minus our outside design temperature. We'll see what this comes up with in Excel. And it comes out with 80 degrees. Is that right? Yes, it actually did the math the right way. Because we go 70 degrees to 0 and then another 10 to minus 10, so it should be 80 degrees total. Sometimes there's a little confusion with how that negative symbol works there, but in this case it works out. Ceilings is the same formula, correct? So in Excel, if you hover over the bottom, see the cursor is a white addition symbol? If you hover over the bottom right-hand corner where that green square is in the bottom of a formula box, the cursor changes to a black solid addition symbol. That is quick copy. I can drag that formula down, and it copies the formula. So I'm going to, for those of you that haven't used Excel before, if you double-click inside a formula, it highlights the cells that are used within that formula. So if you look at this one below it, it has the same parametric relationship. The cell over 2 and up this many, minus the cell over 2 and up this many. However, that's wrong, right? Because now it's subtracting basement temp from ceiling R value. It's all screwed up. So if I go back into this formula up here, in the things that I don't want to change, I put a $sign before. Now it locks that cell address in that formula, so when I drag it down, it retains it. See, so now this is the same as that. That's just kind of a hand tool in Excel. My window delta T and door delta T are going to be the same as that. The one that's different is the floor, right? And that's because the floor separates your inside design temperature from your basement temperature rather than your outside temperature. So this one is going to be equal to your inside design temperature, which is 70, minus your basement temperature, which is 45. So it should give you 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Save. Make sense? And then your thermal losses equals Q equals UA delta T, right? Multiply together, all of these multiply together, so it's going to be this times this times this. Multiplication is commutative. It's a commutative math property, so it doesn't matter what order you multiply in, same as addition. And then this formula here uses these three, right? I don't want to lock those because as I drag this down, I want it to progressively move down with me. That makes sense. Until I get to here, where I make my total. I'm going to make that bold, I'm going to make this bold, and then my total is just simply all of these together. Now you could go through and this one plus this one plus, that takes forever. The quickest way to do it is to use the sum formula. So if you type the word sum equals sum, open a parenthesis, highlight the range, close the parenthesis. You can also, under your formulas tab, you can look under math and trig, and there's all kinds of things you can use sums in there. There's recently used sums in here. There's AutoSum. AutoSum takes a guess at it. Now, in this case, it's probably going to get it right. In some cases, it doesn't. So make sure you understand what it's actually adding. The advantage to using sum as opposed to adding each one individually is that, let's say I decide that I'm going to have another type of door, and I insert here another row for doors. If you look at my sum, it encapsulates that. So it's less of an error with you forgetting to add something in. Yeah. So to do the sum, I showed you typing it last time. So this time here, if I just go to math and trig, and I scroll down to sum, right? And it has a range here, so I'm just going to select my range when it tells me, right? And then click OK, and it gives me that number. If you're a typer, like if you draw in AutoCAD by typing commands, equals sum, open the parenthesis, select the range, close parenthesis. If you select the cell that you're adding in when you make that range, you'll get a circular reference error. Because it can't add itself into a sum, because then it just becomes a indeterminate math problem. Does that make sense? Is this what you guys came out with when you did your homework? No. Ah, see, now you'll have to go back and figure it out. I did 4 by 3. You did 4 by 2?
Yeah.
Did I give you guys 4 by 2? I don't know. A few of you guys have 4 by 3 written down. 4 by 3, 4 by 3, 4 by 3. I think I got it right. So when you want to change the decimal places, I'll show you on the BTU column here. The question was, how do you change the number of decimal places with a number? If you highlight what you want to change, right-click and go to Format Cells. You can format them as any number of things, percentage, time, date. If you choose number, you can select decimal places. So for the BTUs, we'll say 2 decimal places is good. These get pretty large, so in this case, I'll turn on the comma separator for 1,000. I'll show you that function as well. And when I click OK, you can see it separates the 1,000 with a comma and then adds the 2 decimal places in. If you wanted to do that with your square footage, you can, again, format cells, number, 2 decimal places. Okay. Any other questions?